Hi guys, Blacksmith Bets here. I'm making a video today talking about how I went 9-9 last weekend on the UFC. The UFC, MMA, I talk about the UFC separately to MMA to be honest because there's some very small differences with it. I found that betting other organisations, the UFC, for me has been a lot more profitable, and I think it's because of some of the reasons that I'm going to talk about in this video. But I'm going to talk about how I had a card of 9 bets and they all hit, and how I did it really. People who've been following me have seen that I've had quite a few big wins. I've been doing my VIP service now for 12 weeks, and in those 12 weeks I've had 4 very large wins. A 32 unit win, which is my record. This weekend, we just did over 27 units, and then I've had 2 others where we did 19 units. This weekend was kind of like the combination of a lot of the mistakes that I've been making, refining my process, and the biggest one has been not listening to outside influences. And I have a feeling there's people watching this who, if they did that, they would become extremely profitable. I see this all the time on Twitter, and this is like the big thing that made me do very well this weekend. I see it on Twitter, I see it on YouTube. People try to convince others that their analysis is correct. I know because I used to be one. I'm someone who loves debating and analysing things, but it actually can be quite hurtful to your process when you're trying to figure out the answer to something. I see people do tape study, they come to a conclusion, they analyse the fights, they feel like they've got a good read, and they start discussing it online and they start changing their mind. And by the time it comes to fight night, they've completely reversed their position. They've said, oh, actually, I didn't consider that. But what you've watched in your tape study, that's the truth, that's the data. That is, you're seeing it in real time. And yes, there are elements of analysis that you may have missed. Maybe there's some fights that you've missed in the person's history that are more relevant. But that's the time to go back and re-watch it. If someone else brings up, yeah, but you didn't see this fight, you know, maybe it was so long ago, but the style was similar. And by the way, this is something you should be doing in your breakdown. You should be looking at most recent wins and losses and similar stylistic matches in their history. But there's a limit to how much tape study you can do. So it's very important though to just follow what you see in your eyes, because I've been making this mistake and I've lost loads of units, actually fairly recently as well, doing this. Because people whose opinions I respect, I'll take it too much, and I'll let that influence more than my breakdown and my analysis. So this week I said, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to read anyone else's breakdowns or predictions. I actually went on Twitter and just saw what some people were, just because I post to promote my page, I saw some people were posting and I saw it was completely opposite of what I thought. But I locked in my bets early last weekend. I locked them in actually on Sunday. I locked 2 of my main plays in and I parlayed them together because I was so confident in them. And as the week went on, people were betting the opposite to me. And I actually was a bit like, oh dear, I might end up looking really stupid here. I must have missed something. Surely I've missed something. But it's just when you have to trust the process. I've done my tape study and I know the fight as well. And this is what happens to loads of people. They reverse their decisions, or they bet based on lines. Like they let the lines dictate them what's going to happen. Both fighters that I bet on, so the 2 bets I made were Ricci and Buckley. Now, Ricci is a controversial one. I personally think she just edged it, but I wouldn't have said it was a robbery if Torres won. But there are specific reasons why I bet on both of those fighters. The odds actually went up for both of them. So I actually got bad line value. So when I was seeing this throughout the week, I was thinking, oh dear, I've probably made a mistake here, but I'm going to stick by it because I've seen what I've seen on the tape study. And me doubting myself, that's just an element of me being still quite new to capping. You know, this is my first year doing it professionally. Turns out it was right. The other big one was Waldo Cortes-Acosta. And this is what I wanted to talk about this breakdown, or this analysis. It's hype. This is why it's so detrimental listening to other people, because so many people in the MMA community, and I'm talking about professionals, not just casual sports bettors. And when I say casual, some people hate on me for using this term because it does get used too much in MMA. When I say casual sports bettors, what I mean is recreational sports bettors. I don't mean it like, oh, you casual. I've got nothing wrong with people who are casual fans. You know, not everyone's going to be a hardcore MMA fan. So I don't use that term in a derogatory sense. I just mean it to mean someone who is not professional. So back on topic. what happens is there are a lot of hype builds, and I saw this in the community with Robelis Despaigne. So he is someone who had a very a good breakout performance coming into the UFC. It was teed up for him to look good. He's a big, explosive, interesting striker. You know, he's powerful, he's quick. The reason he's interesting is because he moves like a smaller fighter, but he's very, very big. So there's something interesting about him there. The problem he has is he's only got 5 fights in MMA, and that one fight in the UFC was against a fighter in, I think it was Josh Parisian, who's not very good. Not a UFC level fighter. So there are 2 elements to this. One is understanding what the UFC want to do with the fighter, which I feel like a lot of people got that wrong. I think they said, oh yeah, they want to give him a win, they want to build him up. The UFC are very clever. They don't just give fighters the easy path. They play the long game. And with Robelis, he is somebody who is going to have to take some losses to get better, because he just is not experienced enough. We've seen people like Brock Lesnar come through and win a championship with very little MMA experience, but he had a base in the most important skill set, which is wrestling for MMA. If you're a good wrestler, you're very good. It makes up for a lot of weaknesses. Whereas striking, yeah, it can be good. You can get a knockout, but you're probably going to get taken down if you don't know how to defend a takedown. And that's what we saw. This has happened loads of times in MMA throughout the last 20 years. It's nothing new. And this is why I was so shocked that all the sharps were on Robelis, who I saw as a very cliche square pick. And the line value was ridiculous as well. So I was tweeting about how Waldo Cortes-Acosta was the value side. You know, at 2.50 odds, plus 150 for you Americans. I saw that as amazing value, because we really didn't know what was going to happen. Robelis, there's not enough tape for him, but we do know he's not had many fights. He's going to be in trouble if he gets clinched or gets taken down on the ground. His frame helps to a certain extent, but it's not that much of a big deal. You know, it's not like there was such a big size disparity. There really wasn't. Waldo's a big guy. He's very thick, and I don't know why. Everyone was saying his chin was bad because he's been knocked out in boxing. This is a bit of a trope with heavyweights as well, and this is why you have to not listen to the hype, which is what this video is all about. People always say, oh, this fighter's chin's dead, you know, oh, this fighter's chinny in the heavyweight division. In heavyweight, anyone can knock out anyone, and oftentimes the punch that looks like it's only a small punch has got a huge torque behind it. So you can't say a heavyweight's chinny unless they're getting dropped with jabs or with glancing blows. And even with glancing blows sometimes, in the right place, it will drop someone. So there were all these factors being thrown around by journalists, by the MMA community, building up this hype about Robelis and taking away from Waldo. If you watch tape on Waldo, you know he's very awkward. His opponents get very frustrated fighting him. You can say what you want about him. The guy is good at quite a few things. He's quite good at distance management. He's good at not taking a punch directly, even though he is hittable and he doesn't move his head very much. He does a lot of things well, and he stays quite calm. And we saw that on the weekend. He stays within himself. He actually seems more flustered about being clipped, like more about embarrassment, because, oh, this isn't looking good, rather than actual concern, which says to me he's done a lot of sparring and he's sparred a lot of decent fighters who have hit him hard, because he was not fazed. He knew he was going to win. That was an easy pick. But what happened was people were listening to the hype about Despaigne. Everyone was betting round 1 KO, you know, and at evens odds, you know, to be honest, I think the over was a great pick here. I didn't want to take it because I kind of was worried that Despaigne might be so outmatched on the ground that he may just get submitted straight away. And he almost got Americaned. I know people will say it's not that close, but I think if Robelis had shorter limbs, he would have ended up having a tap from that. It was in quite deep. But the rest of the card was kind of similar. We had Ricci, everyone was going on Torres. Look, Torres is a great fighter, and she's someone that I would normally bet on because she's fought very high level competition, but she's been fighting for a long time. I watched her in Tough ages ago, and Ricci is the up and coming fighter who's going to improve, and it's going to level things out. The fight was much closer than I anticipated. I knew it was going to be a close fight, but I thought Ricci would... I thought she would bully Torres, to be honest, in the clinch a little bit more than she did. But that's another fight. Buckley as well. And this is what made me absolutely confused with Buckley and Ruziboev. I bet on Ruziboev to win in his previous fight, and we cashed that. and that was one that not many people were backing him. A lot of people were saying he was going to get exposed. People seem to forget, because the other week when he fought Dumas, everyone was saying, oh, he's going to get exposed, not this fight, maybe the next fight is going to be the one where people are going to realise, because Dumas not that good a fighter, but when he fights someone who's good, he's going to get exposed. Then they seem to forget about that. Everyone changed their mind about him. And I don't think his performance was particularly amazing. You know, he had that weird eye poke win. It was all a bit strange. So people have very short memories in sports in general, let alone in MMA. And this is one I just thought it was a no-brainer. Buckley is a much more elite fighter. He's much more experienced as well. Experience does matter, but experience against good opponents. 20 fights against fighters who aren't at a high level means nothing compared to one person who has been fighting in the UFC for years. And that's what we saw. There was a big height advantage, just like in the Robelis fight. But Buckley has been fighting elite level competition long enough that he would have come up against, when he's sparring, when he's training, he would have come up against that multiple times. He would have come up against heavyweights who are much bigger than him, or light heavyweights, maybe he's not sparring at full throttle with, but he will be, you know, doing some light spars with and managing distance. There will be kickboxers, tall, lanky kickboxers, people of all shapes and sizes. When you've been training MMA for a long time, different body sizes come and go in the gym. So it's not something that's completely unusual to him. And he is the better fighter in every aspect of MMA. I genuinely believe that. There was an argument going in that Ruziboev might be better when it comes to submissions. Buckley just doesn't need them, because he's someone who's got quite long arms as well, and he's got an interesting striking style with a lot of explosivity. Then there was the whole thing that happened in the hotel room. And guys, this is another thing about hype and narrative, and don't listen to it, because everyone was saying, oh, this is classic. It's the situation where Buckley's going to be humbled for making fun of Ruziboev for not being able to afford his hotel or whatever it was. That's a stupid way to bet, because, you know, karma, even if you believe it exists, you know, it doesn't work like that. Even if it seems like he should lose because it's being set up that way, that doesn't mean anything. You're just basing what's happened in other situations. And look, guys, if you go back through MMA history, loads of people have been humbled, but the truth is that loads of people haven't been humbled who should have been, and we just don't remember those times. So it's this, you know, it's this, like, I don't even know if this is the right term to use, but it's almost like a confirmation bias where people think that something should happen, therefore it will happen. It doesn't matter. His antics outside the cage do not determine the stylistic matchup, the experience, and everything else. And this is why listening to social media, listening to people in the media, remember, a lot of these people that you're listening to, a lot of people who are writing articles, are working for sports betting guides. I said this earlier in my free group. I said, guys, be very careful, because last night, I tipped the Nuggets, by the way, last night. They won. Timberwolves, everyone was on them, sharps included. They were saying, you know, they're clearly the better team. There is a narrative going in, and the lines were too short for that to be true. So you could smell a rat. I bet on Nuggets, knowing I'm not completely ignorant of NBA, but I'm not an expert, but I just knew. I could see that every article that came out was on the Timberwolves. We were being pushed, we were being manipulated to try and bet the Timberwolves. And these journalists, they work for the sports books. A lot of them have got podcasts that are actually financially backed by different books, like BetUS, companies like that. It's why you never see them offering the value side in mainstream sports. They always tell you to bet the spread, or, you know, they never tell you to bet the money line on an underdog, because that's where the value is. And, you know, every professional sports bettor knows you should bet value, but nobody does it. No one does it. With MMA, people do it a bit more because it's fighting and they feel like anything can happen, but the truth is any sport's like that. I'm getting off topic now, but my point is you can't trust what you read out there. The only thing you can trust is what you see with your eyes and ears. You know, there's that old saying, like, believe nothing of what you see and only half of what you hear, or the other way around. You know, it's the same principle. Believe, you know, half of what you hear and nothing of what you see. But you're being manipulated all the time, constantly, in the sports betting world. The only thing you can rely on is your own analysis, what you know to be true. And the only way you can do that is by studying tape and putting in the hours. If you can't do that, you've got to find someone like me who is going to do it on your behalf, so you can tell me. But there's nothing secret to it, guys. That's how I made such a huge win this weekend. I also had the monster parlay, a parlay that hit at just under 16-1 odds. How did I do that? I just watched loads of tape. I analysed lines. That's all I did. There's no magic to it, and I didn't listen to everyone else. If I listened to everyone else, I wouldn't have put any of those bets on. Those 3 biggest wins of the night, I would have ignored. I wouldn't have gone with. I had Hooper as well. Another situation. Everyone was on Slava. People can remember. They remember certain things in MMA. They remember Hooper getting smashed up. I can't remember who by, the Mexican guy, but people have short memories. They remember that. They don't remember that. Since then, he's had a couple of fights and he's developed. He's young. He's got a very high skill ceiling. He will get good. There are fighters that come to the UFC that have a high skill ceiling for a specific aspect of MMA, but don't learn and improve. But we can see with Chase, he is improving and getting better. Slava, on the other hand, is making the same grappling mistakes. So it was obvious that Chase's ceiling is higher than Slava's, but there was this narrative that Slava was going to win by knockout. Slava's got a good brand. Slava claws, everyone loves him. He knocks people out. It's more exciting than submissions. This is the sort of narrative, it's really simple, that gets pushed in MMA. It's the sort of narrative because it's exciting, because people want to see the knockout. They want to believe that's more likely to happen. And look, if you want to know who to bet in MMA, or which direction to go in, you can kind of work it out purely by how they are trying to manipulate you into betting. And with Buckley and Ricci, I think we were being pushed to bet the other side because, you know, getting plus money on Torres was kind of a red flag, to be honest. I know she's coming back from having kids and stuff, but she is the higher level fighter. I genuinely believe the books thought Ricci was going to win and they wanted to tempt people away. Same with Buckley as well. And that's why you see a lot of stuff in the media pushing them. But just watch out what's going on out there, guys, because it is not rocket science a lot of the time. It's hard to put all these factors together. And look, on the weekend, there was an element of luck with my selections as well. Ricci winning the decision, she could easily have lost that decision. I could have easily gone 8 or 9. But what about all the others? There's a reason why I'm winning. There's a reason why I win so big so often as well. It's because I'm getting the reads correct, because I'm not listening to noise and I'm relying on what I can see with my own eyes. Sports betting is all about manipulation in terms of the books making money from you. It's about manipulating you, giving you bad value. You just have to know where to look. So start trying to learn why lines are being set at the number that they are, and just try and work out who the books want you to bet on, because that's half the battle at the end of the day. The books have got so much money, so much data, and they spend so much effort getting their lines correct for most sports that you can work out who they think is going to win, and then you can back the right side, the side that has value. Doesn't mean that you're going to win, but it means that you will be backing the side where that is plus EV. UFC, MMA, very different. It's subjective. The way you beat the books in that is by watching tape and not listening to any noise. Watching tape, understanding what is good value, understanding what the implied probability is, and playing what is plus EV. Like with Hooper by KO, I said in my group, did I think Hooper was going to win by KO? No way. But the chance of him winning by ground and pound is very high. They had it at 10-1. I think everyone in the community should have been betting that, and I only saw a couple of people on it. It was just standing out like a crazy odd that they overlooked completely. Any submission artist can get a ground and pound finish. You know, they go to throw strikes to open up their opponent for the choke. One of those strikes lands in the right place. The opponent goes a bit limp. You cash. So, and if you actually did your tape study, you would have seen Slava has a big disparity on the ground. There's a big disparity between him and Chase. Chase's strength was his weakness, and vice versa. So we thought, but Chase dropped him. So anyway, this video is getting a bit long now. That's all it is, guys. Do not listen to the hype. Do your own research. Try it this weekend. Do your own research. Watch the tape. Don't listen to anyone on social media. Put your plays in, and then see how you do. Because I guarantee you'll do better than you think. And that's the other thing. Work out who they want you to bet as well, and go the other way. If you don't know how to do that, or you don't have the time to do that, join my free group. On the weekend, through my social media and through the free group, I gave a commentary and actually told you what my thoughts were. I also gave some live plays out that, and all of them hit. The only ones that didn't hit were the long shots. So all of the straight plays, I gave some plays out for overs and unders live with the UFC. I didn't give my VIP plays away, those are different. But I said, look, there's some other plays if you want to play it, and we actually hit big on both of them. And I gave a 16-1 parlay, or it was just under 16-1 odds. It was 16.72 decimal odds, so 15.5 or 15.5 to 1 odds. That I gave away for free and it hit, and I've hit loads of those in my group. So join the Telegram, join me on social media, because I'm going to start posting plays specifically out to Twitter or to Instagram for free that I'm not going to post anywhere else, because I want to grow my following there. So join me, follow me, and let's get it. Let's have another weekend of absolutely smashing it. Going 9-9, it's not going to happen every week. There is an element of that, which also comes down to luck. But you can't get lucky. You can't get that lucky. The reads were correct. On another card, maybe we'd go 7-9. When it comes to doing it again, you just got to trust your process. You're not going to win them all. The main thing is to make profit so that overall we have a good ROI. My ROI is extremely high at the moment. It's inflated because I've only been doing this for 12 weeks. But follow me, have a look at my stats, scroll up in the Telegram, you can see all the bets that I've made, because since I started the Telegram, I've kept it all on there. So you can go and see for yourself, and if you want to add up my stats, you can do that as well. Anyway, I'm going on and on and on. It's Blacksmith Bets. We're going to get it again. We're going to have another huge weekend, so follow me.